Some may say this is just what the doctor ordered. Others, like Kayvon Thibodeau, might say, no, we're just facing the Commanders next week. Man, the Giants have had good history against the Commanders. This year feels a little different with this squad, but Kayvon Thibodeau definitely doesn't think so. Before we dive into it, man, make sure if you're new to the channel, subscribe down below. I got more Giants content coming through, as well as tomorrow night, 7 p.m. I need all of you guys here on this live stream. We're going to be having Rio Robinson, be previewing the game, going live for a couple of minutes, couple of hours, who knows, let's see, man. But we got an enemy on our side. I need y'all to show up and represent Big Blue, and we'll be live tomorrow at 7, so make sure you pull up, man. Now let's dive straight into it. So Kayvon Thibodeau, after pitching a shutout, and not the right shutout you want, no tackles, no sacks, barely any pressures. I don't even know if he registered a pressure against the Vikings. That's very underwhelming, especially for a guy like Kayvon Thibodeau. But if there's anything we know about Kayvon, he shows up for certain games, and that happens to be against the Commanders. You know, he has 15.5 sacks in his career, and 5.5 came against the Commanders. So you're looking at literally almost 1/3 of his sacks coming from one team, and it's an in-division rival. Oh, according to him, it's not a rival. Kayvon Thibodeau spoke on it with the reporters, and he was pretty much just saying that, you know, they're an in-conference opponent, but it's not really a rivalry because the Giants have been winning more of them than losing them. Now, in his career, he has yet to lose against the Commanders. We did tie one game, though, and I'm still upset about that one tie because that one tie is just a weird game overall. But the Commanders, somehow, some way, even last year when it seemed like the Giants had everything falling apart, they keep winning against the Commanders. And you can look at them as being one of the reasons why we didn't draft the quarterback, or maybe even the quarterback that they have on their team right now in Jaden Daniels. Now, the Giants in this past week 1 looked very sluggish. They looked very not prepared. And, you know, we already know about our quarterback, Daniel Jones. But Daniel Jones has a good history against the Commanders as well. Whether that be throwing for over 300 yards or throwing for less, he gets it done, and he was able to win against the Commanders, you know, a good amount in his career. And even going back to his rookie year, he was having career games against the Commanders, still games that he has yet to touch currently. I remember he had a 7 touchdown day against the Commanders, a 6 touchdown, 7 touchdown game, one of the two. Daniel Jones balled out against the Commanders before, but this Daniel Jones looks a little different. So going against the Dan Quinn-led Commanders. Now, Dan Quinn has had his number when he was the defensive coordinator on the Cowboys. He wreaked havoc for Daniel Jones. That's the thing I'm a little bit worried about heading into this matchup, man. The personnel is not the same as the Cowboys. You don't have a Micah Parsons on that side. You don't have a shutdown corner on that side. They drafted Emmanuel Forbes ahead of Deontay Banks, and he hasn't looked too good. St. Juice from a couple of years ago has his little moments, but I don't think anyone can look at that DB room and think that they have a shutdown corner. And they probably say the same thing for us. But somehow, some way, we get it done with our pass rush, and their pass rush kind of hasn't been there these past couple of years. They had guys like Sweat, and they also had other guys, but they really haven't really stuck. And now all those guys got phased out, traded away, and Chase Young's gone, Montez Sweat is gone. Now it's just an interior D-line with Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne. Now, hopefully this Giants offensive line, you know, continues to build on the performance they put up this past Sunday. They looked good against the Vikings. I don't think they were extremely talented, you know, D-line out there in Minnesota. And for the Commanders, I kind of feel the same way. We should be able to hold it down. Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen always tortured us on the inside, but hopefully our guards stand up a little bit more. Van Roten kind of had an ugly game, not giving up too much sacks, but pressure, so hopefully he holds it down, as well as John Michael Schmitz and John Runyon Jr., man. We already know we got on the outside, Illuminor and Andrew Thomas. Andrew Thomas, shout out to you, man. He gave up no pressures, no sacks. That was one of the things we talked about in my last video. That's what you want to see out of your star left tackle, and he's going to continue to do those things. We already know it. Now, the Giants D-line is what really needs to step up if we want to win this game. Dexter Lawrence in the middle. Nobody can block Dexter Lawrence in the league. I'm convinced. Nobody can block him. The only guy that really had his number was Kelsey, and he already retired. So I'm looking to see Dexter Lawrence continue to make his name known. He was extremely dominant in the Minnesota game, but he didn't play all the snaps. He played around 60% of the snaps. You know, I don't know what it is, if it's his conditioning or, you know, they don't really want to abuse his usage, but Dexter Lawrence needs to be in the game and he needs to wreak havoc, because when he is, nobody can block this guy. You got to double team him, triple team him to really take care of Dexter Lawrence, and sometimes even that isn't enough. Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau, you know, I'm looking for them to have a big game. There's no excuse why they can't. They don't have a star right tackle or left tackle on their team. Their tackles are not as good as we're going to face on this roster, on this schedule. So Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau have to show up, because this last game was abysmal for them. They barely had any pressures. They were barely getting after the quarterback. We know what Sam Darnold did to us. Jaden Daniels could make you guys pay, with his legs. And that's one of the things I wanted to focus on. If this defense is going to have a good day, they got to limit Jaden Daniels with his legs. I'll give him all the credit. Last week against the Buccaneers, they did only put up 20 points, but that's a lot more points than the Giants did, and the Giants didn't get in the end zone last week. But Jaden Daniels was also, when it was unscheduled, and that's what I like to see out of a quarterback, man. When things are thrown to the wind, when you think you have a plan going into a play and everything breaks down, Jaden Daniels was able to make plays with his legs and ran for over 80 yards. Jaden Daniels has that ability. The Giants need to make sure they limit that ability as much as they can. And this pass rush could be exactly what the doctor ordered once again, going against Jaden Daniels. If you got Dexter Lawrence pressuring out the middle, Kayvon Thibodeau and Brian Burns collapsing down the pocket, he's going to have to make something shake. And he might be scrambling back there all day. That's what I want to see out of this D-line. I need to see Jaden Daniels feel uncomfortable and not be able to, sit in the pocket and really throw the ball. He didn't really have a great showing throwing the ball, but last week in general, quarterbacks didn't really have that chance either. So hopefully, we limit Jaden Daniels as much as we can, and this D-line really needs to get after it because we know what our DBs did last week. Now, this is a less talented group on the wide receiver position. Terry McLaurin, Luke McCaffrey, those are kind of the guys that kind of headline that wide receiver group. Not really too much that we should worry about, but hopefully we don't have a bad showing with our DBs. Tyler Nubin, I expect him to make a lot of plays this game. He had some plays made in the run game. I definitely want to see in the pass game, but it's kind of just if the Commanders really let that happen. They kind of dink and dunk their way down the field. I mean, their two leading pass catches last week were two running backs with Austin Eckler and Brian Robinson Jr. So get ready for the screen passes, get ready for the slants, the little hook routes, because they like to dink and dunk the ball and hopefully get some more yards, after the catch. And it worked decently for them, but this defense that Shane Bowen is running, he should be in zone a lot more. I want to see him in zone to kind of make Jaden Daniels, think twice before throwing the ball instead of putting it in man coverage and possibly running man beaters. I want to see this D-line, once again, have enough pressure to really make Jaden Daniels not force a throw or even force some throws that it'll hopefully end up making turnovers. We did have 2 turnovers last week, but that didn't really, change the game. The first one could have. The offense kind of let that down in that interception. The game was kind of over by that point. So, once again, man, this defense has a task with Jaden Daniels. He's the featured guy on that offense, and they need to shut those things down. The run game as well. It's all contingent on what this D-line and what this linebacker group is going to do. Now, for the offensive side of the ball, once again, up front, we should be able to block these guys. Daniel Jones, do what you've done against the Commanders your whole career. I spoke about it in my last video. I think if Daniel Jones balls out in this game, it really doesn't change my standpoint on how I feel about him heading into the season and the rest of the season overall. Because we know he has a good, track record against the Commanders. Somehow, some way, he gets it done against the Commanders. I don't want to see an ugly game from him. I want to see a strong showing. And hopefully, once again, just let it rip. That's the problem with Daniel Jones right now. I think, if you guys have seen the All-22, which I might have to start jumping into that, man. If y'all want to see me start reviewing All-22 film, let me know, man. But overall, Daniel Jones is just not letting the ball rip. He's too busy pump faking. He's scared to make certain throws. He's scared to get intercepted. And then he ends up getting intercepted anyways. Like, Daniel Jones, go out there and play free. I don't know what we have to tell him. I don't know what we have to do to convince him. Go out there and play free because you're playing for your job. You're playing for your job at this point. You're going to get benched if you keep playing the way you do. We need him to start throwing the ball more to Malik Neighbors, trust in his ability in his receiver, and get it out fast. He's been holding off for it too long, and even a couple of the incompletions that happened on Sunday against the Vikings, it's because he's simply not throwing it right away. He's not throwing it with the right timing. It's always been an issue with Daniel Jones, but once again, he has the ability to do so. He's just not trusting himself. He doesn't have any confidence. That's what I see with my quarterback, and unfortunately, I hate to see it, but if there's any team to get right against, it's the Commanders. If we do not win this game against the Commanders, we start off 0-2. Benching Daniel Jones is a serious option. And as well as this rest of the season, we all talked about this 6-game stretch after the Commanders. We got teams like the Browns. We got teams like the Bengals. We got teams like the Cowboys and the Eagles. There's a lot more tough teams to face with a lot better defenses. If Daniel Jones can't get it done against this one, man, things might get loud, man. But I still have the Giants taking the dub in this one, man. Once again, the Commanders kind of have been below us this whole time. Hopefully, it's not a changing of the tides. And if that does happen and the Commanders go out here and win, I know something's wrong in this Giants organization. Something is wrong if the Commanders come out and win this game, man. Once again, the Commanders are favored. It is going to be in their home stadium. But nevertheless, man, I got the Giants win this game 20-17. Limiting Jaden Daniels to 17 points, and hopefully the Giants can make their way into double digits. The only team that hasn't done that yet. So hopefully the Giants really perform well. And once again, like Kayvon said, this ain't no rivalry. It's just an in-conference opponent. So hopefully we see that come through, man. If y'all new to the channel, once again, subscribe down below. Tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Make sure you guys lock in. We're going to be live with Rio Robinson. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.